Welcome to another edition of Titans and Truth. I am your host, Chris, aka Blue Enforcer, and we have a great, stellar show for you this evening. And before we do begin, definitely want to give a shout out to Craft Gasman Creations and my cousin LaCrystal Cleveland. You know, if y'all want to wear a shirt just like this, like I have on right now, you could definitely get in touch with her. Right now, I know she's taking some time off at the moment, but getting closer to the season, once school starts back in September, she'll probably be taking some more orders and things like that. So if you want shirts like this, you could definitely get in contact with her on her Facebook page. You could definitely message her. You can also, and she probably prefers serious inquiries on the shirts. So you could definitely message her, LaCrystal Cleveland, or you can leave her a message on her page, on the Craft Gasman Creation page. Also, you could check her out on Instagram as well at craftgasmic_creations. So you can definitely check her out there and give some information to put your order in, and then she can definitely make something for you and get that sent to you. You can get it made in this color, in the navy, also in the light blue. In the light blue, I have that shirt here as well. This is the light blue shirt, and then I also have a hoodie in gray, so you can get those in any color. Like you can get the shirt in light blue, you could get the hoodie in baby blue, and also gray or black even. So she'll definitely work with you on that. And what colors she'll be able to get that for you. And of course, the information will be on the back as well. So you'll definitely be not only supporting her, but supporting Titans and Truth as well. And so I just wanted to give that a little bit of a shout out before we definitely begin. Now, today's show is basically centered around OTAs. OTAs have wrapped up, and now players are off until, I believe the date is now July 25th. July 25th is when players will report. For training camp, and the first practice will begin on Thursday, July 26th. It will be the first practice. Quarterbacks, injured players, and rookies will report on July 22nd, and then the rest of the team will report in on July 25th to get ready for training camp. So, off season is over. The team gets to enjoy about 4, maybe 5 weeks of time off. That's, a lot of guys are going to be going on vacation. Some guys are going to be getting married. Kevin Byard, I believe, is getting married on July the 7th. And this is not indicative to the team, but of course, Titans insider of ESPN, Cameron Wolf, is getting married on the 1st. I believe my friend Austin Stanley from A to Z Sports is getting married on the 7th as well, and Taylor Lewan is getting married as well. So that's a good reason for this offseason. There, got weddings going on and things like that, because once these players come back on the 26th, it's all hands on deck. It is time to get ready for the season, as Coach Vrabel mentioned in a press conference earlier today, and you're going to hear some clips of that later, is that we're 87 days away from the first preseason game. So from some meaningful football, it's not a lot of, there's a lot of time. The first meaningful game is in 87 days. The first preseason game, I will believe, is in a little over 30 days or so, because you got the whole month of July and then a couple of days in August, so about 30 to 40 days from the first preseason game, but 87 days from the kickoff of the regular season on September 9th. So that is a big date that they're looking forward to on that. But one thing that they did, they wrapped up camp actually yesterday. They canceled today's practice, and the reason for that, they decided to do a team building exercise today. Okay, sorry for that brief distraction, but yes, they decided to do a team building exercise today. They decided to go and visit the Metro Police Academy the Metro Police, National Police Academy. And so what they basically did there was they learned a lot about gun safety and some of the gun laws that the NFL has passed down and things that they need to abide by to make sure that they do things right. And also, they got the chance to shoot some of the firearms that they had out there, like the AR-15 rifle. Also, some of the I know some guns are called Glocks or the P40s, P30s, and things like that. So they were able to shoot some of the guns that the officers let them use out there. But it was a good team building exercise. Marcus Mariota, a lot of the players that were there, the coaches. Also, General Manager John Robinson was there as well. I just like the fact that they've done a lot of team building exercises to kind of keep the team together and just to do some things differently. And so I definitely like that because I know a lot of the guys, some of them have said, like including Coach Vrabel, that he's never fired a gun ever before. And so that was the first time that he got a chance to do that. He knows that, there are probably some players who actually have firearms, but they also, got the rules from the NFL in regards to that, not having those weapons in the building or, close to practice or anything like that, or at the stadium during games, things like that. So, gun safety is very, very important because unfortunately there's a lot of gun violence going on in this world, and you gotta be safe and you gotta abide by the rules. So that is definitely a great team building exercise there. And before we do get into the headlines of what's been going on at these OTAs, I'm gonna bring up a clip of the press conference from earlier today, and this is head coach Mike Vrabel on the dial.
Today on the field, or was it all this team building over at the police training center?
We had a meeting this morning, and then we decided that it'd be best for us at this time right now where we're at as a football team to go over there and visit with the Nashville Metro Police Department. I thought it was a great exercise. I mean, talked about gun safety. Clearly, we met with the NFL yesterday. They gave us and went through the policies, and part of that policy is there's a gun policy, and that we know that no one can have a firearm around team premises and in the parking lot or at the team hotel. And then a lot of guys do own handguns, and that's their right. And so we thought that we would mix some gun safety in with the interaction with the police department. There was a lot of chiefs. There was 30 police officers. There was cadets, and then our guys got to work one-on-one, and those guys were the coaches for the day. And we tried to listen and pay attention the best we could, and had a little fun along the way.
Why was that more valuable today than being out here on the field?
Well, because I think right now at this point in time where we were going to be, I thought we put the ball down yesterday. I thought we got some stuff done. The health of the team, I think, is good. The conditioning is good. And so I think that there's a fine line between always practicing and grinding these guys and having an opportunity to get away from this building to where you can kind of hang out and laugh and have a good time outside this football field and outside this building.
So you would say your confidence level is pretty high given that you've had some time to get your hands on these guys, albeit without pads on?
Well, that's the thing. I think the biggest thing that you just mentioned was pads. And so we'll find out a lot about this football team and where we're at the end of July and when the pads do come on. Because right now, there's always going to be players that are going to surprise you. They're going to be guys that stand out when you put pads on and go, and whether that be an offensive lineman or a defensive or a linebacker that's just finds a way to make tackles or shows up in preseason games on special teams. Those are a lot of things. So, I don't know as a coach if I'll ever be truly confident. I'll have confidence in all our players on our roster right now, but I don't know if that's something that you would always say as a head coach. You're just going to be confident that we're going to roll out and win a game.
On that, how much?
Okay, that was one clip from Mike Vrabel, and I'm about to pull up another part for you right here as well.
I think you learn every day that the health of the team is critical to your success. I mean, there's nothing more important than the health of our football players, the 90 of them that we have here, and then eventually in September, the 53 that we have on the active roster, and then the 10 that we carry on the practice squad. So I think you understand that. You're in constant communication with Todd, the training staff, trying to balance, I think, conditioning with practice, making sure that both of those things are good, that you're just not taking a back seat to the conditioning that you're going to need in training camp. And I think the other thing is just scheduling. With the amount of time that you have with the player, you're trying to meet, you're trying to lift, you're trying to practice, and you're trying to, get time for treatments and all those things after practice. So you're trying to do the best job that you can to balance that time that they've given you to work with.
These guys being ready health-wise. I know Conklin had a big surgery, and he may be an exception. Other guys who were out.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. With the exception of Jack, I would hope that we come back as a healthy football team, and that we'll discuss, and John and I will discuss all the PUP and all those different lists that go on. But I would imagine we would be pretty healthy coming back here.
Like Mike, from a physical standpoint, how much your maybe experience as a player will help kind of lay the groundwork of what you want to do as a head coach?
I think I continually go through that, and I think that'll change. I think that in my mind right now, I've got some practices laid out where they're full pads and it's uppers or it's shells. But I think that constantly changes. I don't ever want to be, a coach that just draws up a schedule in May or June and sticks to it and is forced to stick to it in August because that's what you came up with. So ideally, we'd like to stick to the rules, and we'll be in shells the first 2 days, and then we'll be in full pads and work our way through that and see how it goes and see who's available and see who we have for each practice and see what we need. Do we need to throw the ball more? Do we need to run it more? So there's a lot of things that go into to play to determine whether we are in full pads or whether we're not in full pads.
All right, that was head coach Mike Vrabel giving some sound bites on the press conference today, basically saying that about the team building exercise today, and also talking about the health of the football team right now. Besides Jack Conklin, he would expect everybody to come back healthy and ready to go for training camp. And he also went on to say that he believes everybody is going to be prepared for training camp, and he is also hopeful that Taylor Lewan will be included with all 90 guys that are going to be in camp as well. And of course, speaking of Taylor Lewan, going into the headlines, of course, Taylor Lewan was not present at minicamp at all due to he is holding out. And so, of course, it looks like there was a statement released about that from John Robinson. Taylor Lewan's agents got in contact with John Robinson, basically telling him that Taylor Lewan is not going to be attending minicamp and is going to be basically holding out, hoping to get a new deal done, getting a new contract, because Taylor Lewan is going into his fifth year option, his fifth year of his rookie contract, and the representatives are basically trying to get a new contract done for Taylor Lewan more long term. And I know there are a lot of people who are panicking right now that this is happening. At first, it kind of got me too a little bit, but then I had to step back a bit and realize, hey, he's trying to get his money. He's one of the best left tackles in football. So, I don't blame him. I would want to get all the money that I deserve to get. Of course, Zach Martin of the Dallas Cowboys just got a 6-year, $84 million extension with $40 million guaranteed. So John Robinson's going to have to shell out a little bit more money than that, definitely, to do that. So I'm thinking maybe somewhere around the, maybe 5-6 year, I would say 6 years, close to $90 million, and maybe about 45 to maybe 50 million guaranteed for Taylor Lewan. He is one of the best left tackles in the game and deserves to get paid like one. So, definitely, I understand that he's definitely holding out. He should be with the team, and I think deep down Taylor Lewan wants to be with the team. If he was really serious about the holdout and everything, he would have not showed up at OTAs, which he was at all the OTAs during the offseason and everything. But this is his agent instructing him to hold out. And a lot of times people have to understand when it comes to holdouts, it is not necessarily the player that's saying, I'm not going to camp without a new contract. It's not the player that's saying that. Most of the time, it is the agent that is telling the player, no, you need to hold out. You don't need to show up at all until you got a new deal in place. And and I understand that because, again, what would have happened at minicamp if Taylor Lewan went through minicamp and bang, breaks his leg or, has an injury that has him out for the year or out for a long time? There goes the big money right there. He's not going to be worth all that money at that time. So, everything is going to happen at the right time. I think Taylor Lewan will get a long-term deal done. I'm not worried about that at all. He'll be ready to go by training camp, and they'll get the deal done somehow. I think he's too valuable to the team. John Robinson knows that, and, he wants to be here with the guys and things like that. So I think they're going to definitely get a deal done. No worries about that at all. And, the question is, will he be signed before training camp? I don't know, but I think he will. My prediction is he will get signed before training camp. I think Taylor Lewan's going to be there, so I'm not really worried about that at all. But as far as some of the highlights from camp, and right now I would say the defense is miles ahead of the offense right now. From what I've been hearing, is that the secondary is looking really sharp, really strong with Malcolm Butler, Adoree Jackson, Logan Ryan, and also LaShawn Sims has done extremely well, as he's probably had the best offseason of all of the secondary. And so LaShawn Sims has really stepped up very well. Kevin Byard, his usual self. I haven't really heard anything about Jonathan Cyprien, so maybe no news is good news on that. And, Kalen Reed has gotten a little play, not only at corner, but also at safety as well. We got to see what's going to happen with Ty Smith, DeMontre Hurst, and some of these young undrafted rookies like I believe it's Rico Gallard, also Damon Webb, and also Joseph Esty, the undrafted free agent. So maybe one of those guys could make an impact as well. But the secondary seems to look really strong. In the linebacking core, Jayon Brown has definitely stood out. He's usually the guy you bring in on third down for passing situations. He's actually looked good, and maybe it's getting better against the run. Wesley Woodyard looks like he hasn't lost a step either, and doesn't look like he's slowing down on the wrong side of 30. First round draft pick Rashaan Evans, looks like he still may have a little bit of work to do to become a starter, but, he's still coming along. He's still learning the defense and things like that. I got absolutely all the faith in the world that he'll be ready to go week one. Rashaan Evans will be our starting middle linebacker without a doubt. Now, Kevin Dodd, on the other hand, who, in my honest opinion, I think is going to get cut. I think Kevin Dodd, his time is growing to an end. I don't even think he's going to make the 53-man roster. But what has been happening with him, which is a surprising development, is that he's been getting a lot of work in on the defensive line. So he's been working with Jarrell Casey and Benny Logan on the defensive line with his hand down in the dirt. I have been screaming this for about the last 2 years since they drafted him, especially last year, that they should have moved Kevin Dodd down to defensive end, even in a 3-4 system. I mean, I know he's better suited as a 4-3 defensive end. I don't know, maybe he gets traded to a 4-3 defensive team, but I like the fact that they finally decided to move him down and have him play in the defensive end role. That might help him. That might save his career. Although he should have been here for OTAs, he could have gotten a little bit more work with the defensive line. It could have been better for him. But I like the move, but I don't know if long term he's going to even be on the team for it to matter anyway. But that is definitely something interesting. Not much to say about Jarrell Casey. He's his normal self. Definitely looking really good out there. And, Arakpo and Morgan, the usual. They're definitely very good. On the outside, Morgan has come in looking pretty good. Could be the franchise sack leader, at least Titans wise. Not talking Oilers also, but he's definitely closing in another, maybe get to over 10 sacks. Rakpo, is definitely leaner as well. And Harold Landry, I know a lot of people say he might be a bit undersized, but he's doing some good on the outside as well. And also, he got signed today as well. So the entire 2018 draft class is signed on the dotted line, so there won't be any holdouts from the rookies at all. So the Titans are one of 4 NFL teams to say they have signed their entire draft class and is good to go for training camp. So I like Harold Landry. I think he's going to do very well. He could be that third pass rusher that comes off the bench behind Rakpo and Morgan. Of course, we're going to have to watch out for Aaron Wallace. Aaron Wallace, coming back from the injury, has looked sharp. He made some plays before in 2016 for the team, especially in the game against Denver, making that big sack. Josh Carraway is another guy. And then the guy I want to look out for, you could catch back a couple episodes on one of the interviews that I did when meeting the rookies, is Sharif Finch. You definitely need to watch out for that name. He could definitely be a guy that could make this team, especially if Dye moves down or is cut. That opens up another roster spot. Somebody that maybe you didn't think was going to make the team may end up making the team on that, and Sharif Finch could be one of those guys. Now, turning our attention to the offensive side of the ball, and I got to tell you, the offense has some work to do, especially at wide receiver. I mean, Corey Davis was held back, limited. Rashard Matthews hasn't practiced much at all. Looks like a minor injury for Rashard Matthews. Corey Davis might be dealing with an injury. Maybe they're just holding him back. I believe Coach Vrabel said they're just holding him back for precautionary standards. He should be ready to go around training camp, and we'll have the full slate of guys there, along with Taywan Taylor and Tajay Sharp, who's been getting the bulk of the work. And they just signed a wide receiver in Brandon Shippen, who was formerly of the Chiefs and the Rams as well. I don't know what kind of impact he'll make. I think he's just a camp body. I doubt he's going to make much of an impact at all. But some guys that have been making impacts, undrafted rookies. One is Deontay Burnett, who was one of my dark horses. Also, a Devin Ross has also made some move. But a guy that has been talked about a lot as an undrafted free agent is Jordan Vesey from Cal at 6'3". He has been making a lot of plays. He has really gotten the eye of the coaching staff and of the media as well, as a guy that could be the dark horse in making this team. So he could definitely be that 6th receiver on this team if they don't add another veteran or something like that. So they may carry 6 receivers, maybe even carry 7. I don't know if they'll carry that many, but we're going to see about that. But Jordan Vesey is a guy to keep your eye on. At the running back position, I really like what I've heard about Dion Lewis being very elusive coming out of the backfield. Definitely will help in the passing game. And, he's a guy with his frame. He could get lost behind an offensive line because you're looking for him. He could be hiding behind an offensive lineman, and the next thing you know, he's 10, 15 yards down the field. You didn't even know he escaped through the hole. So Dion Lewis has definitely been a fine player. Glad that we got him. And then Derrick Henry, has come in looking a lot leaner, looking a lot faster. He's busted a few good runs as well. And so this is going to be a good running back competition, and not just for the starting spot, also for the third running back spot between David Fluellen and Akram Watley from Iowa, the undrafted free agent, another dark horse that I've talked about numerous times. They're going to be battling out for that third spot. And, they may carry 4 running backs. I don't know. But I think Watley has a very good shot of dethroning Dave Fluellen and ending flu season. So we're definitely going to find out about that. Marcus has really been working on widening his base and definitely helping with his throws. So, because, a lot of times he's been dropping back. He's been throwing off of his back foot. And a lot of the times, the passes are either sailing or they end up in the hands of the defense. So he's definitely been working on widening his base so that he has better leverage on a throw, and he's able to have it where his base is, equal to where he's not thrown off of a back foot or not forcing on the front foot, that is even, and he can make the proper throws. And that may even help on his deep throws as well. Excuse me for that. And obviously, heard a lot, with his short and intermediate passes have been pretty good, but he's also trying to work on his deep passes as well. Widening the base will definitely help with that. And with this offense, I heard Rhett Bryan on 104.5 The Zone earlier today, and what was happening was that he said, a lot of the time we complained about Terry Robisky and Mike Mularkey not opening up the offense, not unleashing Mariota or the receivers or anything like that. Get ready. They're probably going to open up the playbook, and they could be unleashing some guys. So we're going to see what happens with that, but we got to have the bodies to do it. And I know a lot of people have talked about Des Bryant, possibly being a possibility as a wide receiver. Talent-wise, I love Des Bryant. I think he would be a great player talent-wise. But as far as overall, I would stay away from him. Why? Because even though he's talented on the field, he has a lot of issues still on the field, mainly on the sidelines, and also off the field as well. He's gotten into tirades with teammates, with coaches, and, he's been a problem child. He could be what some people call a nuisance. And I don't know if we need that around this locker room, especially with the culture that we've been continuing to build. So I would kind of stray away from Des Bryant. If I had to say from 1 to 10 as far as the need to sign him, 1 saying absolutely not, 10 being he'll be a Titan, I would probably venture and say that as about a 4. Saying that, maybe they could sign him if they need him, but I would stray away from him definitely. I don't know if he's a good fit for what we're trying to do as far as the culture and as far as the team. He'll probably cause more problems than solving. And a lot of times you got to say it. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. He would be part of the problem. So I'm just not really a fan of that signing actually. But those are some of the highlights that have been happening with OTAs so far in camp. Again, the players are now off after today. They're on vacation now and will not be coming back in until July 25th. Quarterbacks and rookies will report on July 22nd, and then everybody else will report on July 25th. First practice will be July 26th. Looks like the third practice is when they'll be in full pads for the first time, and then you're really going to find out some things about these players, because you're going to have a lot of popping and a lot of click-clack and a lot of hitting. So that's something I'm definitely going to be looking forward to. Also know that Titans in Truth, we're going to be providing footage. I may go live sometimes at Titan practice if I can. As far as maybe showing some things and telling you some of my observations. And, I'll also be doing a few things as far as, after practice, what did I notice? What did I see? And, I'm going to try to see if I can get credentialed to where I can maybe, see if I can talk to some players, maybe get some stuff from coaches, or see what some other media members think as well. So I'm definitely going to try to definitely get some extra footage. Titans in Truth, you'll be seeing me exclusively at Titans training camp coming up. So that is definitely going to happen. But before we move on, I have a special challenge part that I got to talk about a little bit. That a good friend and also friend of the show put me up to. And, but first we're going to talk about Craft Gasman Creations again. As y'all can see, I'm wearing my Titans in Truth shirt. You can wear it too. Check out my cousin LaCrystal Cleveland. She's going to be away right now, but definitely check back in September. She'll be starting doing some orders again. I'll be giving some information as time goes on as far as that, but you definitely want to sport the gear. And so, if you want some more information, you could get with me on my page, on the Titans of Truth fan page, which I'm thinking about changing the name of that, by the way, but get with me on that. I'll give you some information and definitely get you in touch with her, as she gets back into the fold and gets ready to maybe take some more orders. Because I definitely want to hopefully see some Titans and Truth shirts on the Facebook page, on at the stadium or anything like that. So when that comes out, I want to see pictures of people in their gear and things like that. And maybe during the season, maybe I'll do a giveaway. Maybe I'll give away a couple of shirts to some people, maybe on some trivia or something like that. I may come up with something with that. So definitely something coming forth in the future. But one other thing I wanted to get into right quick on the last half of the show is that I was challenged a while back by Mr. Cody Milhoyne of Titantown. Of course, he's a friend of the show. He has, I've been on his podcast before, and he's talked to me on Titans of Truth before as well. He decided to come out with a challenge, and, he went through and did a video a while back. You could check him out. He did something called "If I Were John Robinson, What Would I Do?" And basically saying, so what would you do if you were John Robinson or if you got hired as the Tennessee Titans GM? He did a video on that and then challenged me and another guy to do the same thing. So Cody, challenge accepted. And so what I'm going to do, I think he did the same thing, and I'm going to follow in on that because I think it's a good idea. I'm going to do a 3-part series on this. And, tonight I'm going to do 2016 when John Robinson was first hired. Another show that I'll do next week, I'll do 2017, what I would have done before last season, and then the week after that I will do 2018. What would I have done this off season compared to what John Robinson has done? What would I have done if I was general manager? And so we're going to go ahead and go into that. So it is February of 2016. Chris Newell has been hired as the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. I somehow blew the interview away. I beat out John Robinson. I beat out Chris Ballard. I'm now the GM of the Tennessee Titans. And my first act, my first decree is, I'm sorry, Mike Mularkey would not be the head coach of the Tennessee Titans if it was me. Me personally, I would have hired Hugh Jackson or Josh McDaniels as my head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Now, again, this is what I would have done at that time. We're not talking about what has transpired since. We know Hugh Jackson has not had a good record with the Cleveland Browns. We know that Josh McDaniels, how he is, in New England. But I'm saying, if I was, with me being hired, this is me hired as the general manager at that time in 2016, I would have hired either Hugh Jackson or Josh McDaniels as my head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Why I say that? Offense would have been a whole lot better, and they would have catered the offense to Marcus Mariota. And, with Josh McDaniel, he would have went back to the 4-3 that New England runs. With Hugh Jackson, probably would have stuck with the 3-4. He would have maybe brought Greg Williams with him as defensive coordinator, or would have had a 3-4 type guy for this defense. So I would have loved Hugh Jackson as head coach. There's no way I would have touched Mike Mularkey with a 10-foot pole. He would not be my head coach. Going into free agency. Now, I still would have made the trade for DeMarco Murray. I thought that was a genius move by John Robinson, and all he did was trade back about 13 spots. That was genius. I would have traded for DeMarco Murray 10 times out of 10, no questions asked. As far as some of the free agents, yes, I would have signed Rashard Matthews, Byron Bell, Rashard Johnson as safety, and Craig Stevens I would have brought back as well. Of course, he retired. I would have definitely brought them back. Now, thank God I would never have touched Bryce McCain or Antoine Blake or Sean Spence. None of those guys would be on my team in 2016. I would have not had that. I would have not had the artist formerly known as Valentino. Would not have had him and that would have saved us a lot. So, I definitely would have did that. One thing I would have done, I would have went hard after Alex Mack, the guard, center formerly of the Cleveland Browns. I would have went after him with everything I could do, and I would have signed him to be my center. Now, no disrespect to Ben Jones. If I could not have landed Alex Mack, I would have signed Ben Jones, but Alex Mack would have been my first choice. I probably would have looked at Kikli Osimile, but I don't think I would have been able to get him with the money that he was asking for. I would have landed Mitchell Schwartz, formerly of the Cleveland Browns as well. So I would have had Mitchell Schwartz at right tackle, Taylor Lewan at left tackle, Alex Mack at center. Still looking like I would have had Byron Bell maybe at left guard, and at the time Chance Warmack at right guard, but would have had some competition from Quinn Spain. Now, one thing I also would have did on the defensive side, I would have did everything I could to get Snacks Harrison, Damon Harrison, to sign. Instead of going to the New York Giants, he would have came here, would have been a big-time piece of the defensive line, along with Daquan Jones and Jarrell Casey. I would have really have liked to have seen that line. And I wouldn't have had Matt Castle as my quarterback. Maybe I would have had RG3 or, of course, Super Bowl winning quarterback Nick Foles would have been backing up Marcus Mariota instead of Matt Castle. And another guy that I maybe would have gotten, maybe wouldn't have done this because I would have signed Snacks Harrison, but I would have probably looked at Terrence Pot Roast Knighton, maybe move Snacks over to defensive end and have him in the middle. I would have liked to seen Harrison, Knighton, and Jarrell Casey. That would have been a nice defensive line, but I would have signed Harrison already, so maybe I wouldn't have needed Pot Roast Knighton. Now, this might sound crazy. Why not get Josh Norman? I know he's more of a man corner instead of zone, but at that time, probably would have been playing a little bit more man. So I would have went after Josh Norman, pair him in the secondary. So I would have had Jason McCourty maybe on one side and Josh Norman on the other side. I trust those two more than I trust Parrish Cox and Bryce McCain. So that's how I would have done it if I was there. And I would have added Tashawn Gibson as well in free agency at safety. Maybe play him as strong safety or something like that with Denor Searcy. But I forgot I had Denor Searcy on the team, so maybe scratch off Tashawn Gibson. Forget that because Denor Searcy is there, with that. So I would have probably tried to get Tashawn Gibson if I could as well. But, so far I would have had, on the offensive line, I would have had Taylor Lewan, Byron Bell, Alex Mack, Chance Warmack or Quinn Spain, and Mitchell Schwartz on my offensive line. I would have had, on my defensive line, Daquan Jones, Snacks Harrison, Jarrell Casey, and maybe a pot roast in there for some depth. In the defensive backfield, I would have Jason McCourty, Josh Norman, and Denor Searcy as my safeties, and still have a hole at free safety as well. And so that leads me into the draft. And in the draft, I still would have made the trade with the Rams. I would have definitely took that capital. Now, as far as moving up to 8, I don't think I would have done that. I would have tried to move up as high as I could, maybe to see if I could get Jalen Ramsey. But if not, I probably would have stayed put. I think I would stay put at 15, and I would draft Taylor Decker. And I would draft Taylor Decker, come in. He could play guard, either push away Byron Bell or Chance Warmack. He plugs in at guard, and then could easily move to tackle, if I decide to cut Mitchell Schwartz, or if something happens with Taylor Lewan, I can move him to left tackle. So he could play guard for me right now until he's ready to play tackle at that time. Plus, somebody I would have wanted was not available at that time anyway. So, that's what I would have done in the first round. Maybe not the most popular pick, but it would have been necessary to keep the offensive line growing. In the second round, no, I would not have picked Kevin Dodd. No way, no how. If it was me, I would have picked Miles Jack at 33. I think Miles Jack would come in and would have played right away in the linebacker spot, either outside or inside, along with Wesley Woodyard. Another pick I would have made, I would have still picked Derrick Henry, but maybe at 43. And at 45, another corner I would have picked to maybe help in the nickel, or if I decide to get rid of Jason McCourty, would be cornerback Mackenzie Alexander out of Clemson. Would have been a nice second-round pick for me as well. Third round, of course, I would have stuck with Kevin Byard, would have started right away for me at free safety. Tajay Sharp still would be a good pick as well, and I'm not really going to worry about the later draft picks that happened to, because they didn't really make much of an impact. But I still would have stuck with some of that, but again, I would have changed. Kevin Dodd would not have been the guy. I would have went with Miles Jack, and I would have went with Derrick Henry, and also would have been Mackenzie Alexander. Maybe another guy I would have thought about would have been defensive tackle Ashawn Robinson as well. The defensive tackle from Alabama would have been another guy that I would have considered at 45 at that spot. So those are a couple of guys I would have considered in the draft, and that's basically what I would have done going into the offseason and into training camp. And so if I find any other information as far as maybe late free agents or anything like that before training camp, maybe there would have been a couple other guys I would have added, but that's what I would have done if it were me in 2016 as the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. Of course, what I'm going to do next week, I'm going to be talking about 2017, what I would have done last off season. As far as everything is going, would I have went after AJ Bouye? Would I have traded for Malcolm Butler a year earlier? Some of those things that would have been interesting. Would I have traded picks in the first round? Would I have picked Corey Davis and Adoree Jackson at 5 or 18? These are things I'm going to be talking about next week. And again, I'm hoping to get Corey Curtis of News 2 of WKRN News Channel 2 to come on the show as well. So I'm working on that as well. And so I got some other guests that I may have lined up also. So be on the lookout for that. And so I believe that's going to do it. Make sure y'all share and subscribe to the channel. Share this show out to your friends. Also, spread the word. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think of the show. Let me know what you think of this particular show and what you would have done in 2016. And last but not least, I am issuing out a challenge to every last one of you listening to this show. If you have not subscribed to the channel, do it. Please subscribe to the channel. My goal, I want to get up to 250 subscribers by training camp. So you have a month. By July 26th, I would like to have 250 subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, you're behind. You need to catch on up with everybody else. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Spread the word out on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. I will try to have some clips up on Instagram, and also I'm gonna have this up on Facebook and on Twitter as well. So everybody, thank y'all for tuning in to Titans and Truth this evening. I'm your man Chris, and I got some more stuff coming up around the way, and I'ma holler at y'all.